Welcome again to our how-to sessions. For those who are new, this is an open forum where we exchange, go over case study. You can openly ask your question. To keep it organized, we just ask that you raise your hand and we will bring you in so that everybody can share into the inquiry and the knowledge gain. I also have Robert assisting me with the chat. So if you have questions and you do not necessarily want to speak out, you can ask the question directly in the chat, and he will also assist with the answers. For recaps, all the content that we create here, I offer. So I'll share with you all those links in the conversation. So that way you can find your way back to this content. And we will get started. If we have any specific questions, we'll start with that. And if not, I'll continue where we left off yesterday. I'll maybe do a recap on what we discussed and then continue where we left off. I think there's still some value there to gain in that conversation around email onboarding and preparation. Good for everybody? Perfect, perfect. So let's start with questions, if any. Okay, so we'll consider it so to silence as we do. Of course, at any point during the conversation, if there's something that you want to share, please do. So that way we can again move that into that direction. So I'm going to share my screen just to start. Quick recap. Yesterday, we were going over creating the email onboarding sequence. So for those who were there or here, I shared a few documents that you can now find. So I shared basically the overall email training exercise, the different steps that I took, the prompts and such. I also shared the coaching and onboarding process. If we are to build an onboarding process, we should be aware of certain fundamentals. So I prompted the AI. I went over it. It aligned with what I thought was what I was following. Again, when you're prompting the AI to create a system for yourself, you have the obligation to read it, align it with what you see is your learning process, your learning curve, or if you're looking at talking to if you're speaking from a higher tier to people that are new startup, then think about the level of conversation or the level of understanding that they have when you're putting together basically your coaching or onboarding process. So it's important to consider that these are general values to put things in perspective to give you a basic roadmap template to follow. Same thing with the suggested list of assets or coaching training. We'll go over that for the next part, but because I think this is where a lot of the conversation actually should start. You'll notice in the document about the email campaign, when I prompted it, I had already in perspective a few of my how. So a few assets already in mind when we're asking for it to include links to book meetings, one-on-one session, information about weekly webinar. Already there, I had a set amount of asset that I thought I would be or thinking about using. The rest was really just copying this prompt, bringing it back to my AI, of course, right? So prompting it step by step. Sometimes, depending on how you have calibrated your AI, you might have to go to a series of exchange with it. But generally, it will produce for you such a content. So you can see here that we after that, I've prompted the AI. You'll be able to see also the video recap in the case study. So we prompted the AI. It gave us basically this email sequence. Of course, to make sure that it is easy for us to follow back in the trail of things that were created when we're doing this. It's good practice to come back, copy, create basically your content. Right here, I shared this was the basic conversation that I created. I wanted to make you to share more this email sequence, if I'm sharing the right screen now. So from what the AI gave me, I copied the whole sequence onto a document. So I have it here. Of course, you want to pay attention to things that are coming across, right? For example, booking links, right? And this is important. From here, from these documents, I then went back to my now site into the email campaign. And this is where we basically were drafting our email campaign. Now, initially, I started from scratch. So I created and copied paste exactly what was offered on that email campaign. I started already putting in place some marketing assets, making use of the different options that we have here, even though they are limited, they allow us to do a lot. An image is worth a million word, video is worth more. So mixing basically your content throughout your email conversation, your email onboarding to line up also with the objective of that content is important, right? Once I created this base template, I basically use the three dot here and duplicate it here to set in motion what I'm going to be doing next. Of course, at this point, I have set the first one and I'm going to go into the second one to edit. Now, this is an important part that we didn't cover yesterday, which is important also to understand. It's the mechanic of the email. As it is set, each one of these emails is set to be rolled out immediately, meaning that if I chose to roll out this campaign, all these would be blasted out. Be careful with that. Okay. Technically, when you are creating an email campaign, you want to think right away and establish right away the sequence, right? So I have my first email that goes out immediately, which usually is what you want to be reactive. As soon as somebody puts their information into a capture form, unless there's a deeper plan, you want the first email to roll out immediately, right? Uh, when you're trying to cross strategy across different emails, it can get a little complicated. First, let's master the basics, and then we'll look at how we can intertwine email campaigns depending on how we delay the scheduling. For example, I can have a welcome email, just one email generally set to go out immediately. And then I can trigger, for example, this email onboarding, the first one to go out a day after. So linking them to the same contact form would do things like that. But it gets a little complicated. For now, let's stick to just this one, planning for a sequence of email. So going back, I've duplicated this one. It's exactly the same. The second thing that I'm going to do is basically click on editing the second one. So just to set things in motion, you can see here that I have my email name, right? And this is when you're going to be basically updating content. It has a menu that I'm going to need to update. It has a subject that I'm going to need to update. But the first interest here is the schedule, right? The first email is the trigger for the sequence. So if you're going to deal basically with a sequence, you want to choose and remain in one of these values, right? I don't recommend mixing these values because we have hours. If I wanted to have an email sequence that shoots out in a series of hours, so immediately an hour after, 2 hours after, 3 hours after, could be something of the sort. If I want to be very intensely pressing on the client, which is a little bit too much. So usually campaigns are set in the day realm. right? In the day format. So first one, immediately. Second one, day one. So day after, meaning 24 hours after. The AI will count days and hours for you. So when you put immediately day one, 24 hours after, it's gonna consider the first cycle of the day and send that out. Then it's gonna go into the next cycle and so on and so forth. Okay, so keep in mind what you're picking here. Of course, at this stage, what I'm going to do, following the strategy before me, I'm going to go back to my document and basically start copying the information that I need, right? In this case, to be efficient, I'm just going to copy everything, copy. I'm going to come back to my editor. And at this point, just going to put here for just so that I have my content. I'm going to come back to the editor. I went a little fast here. So it was flashing red because there was nothing. I'm going to come back with the description. I just put 4 as a reference. I'll come back to it. The next step here is I have copied content. I want to make it available. So I'm just going to paste here. I'm going to click on the content box, the large text block, go to the gray zone for the editing, click on edit. I'm going to highlight whatever it is here. Actually, the heading technically will remain the same. So what I'm going to do is copy everything in between and Control V to paste it. And at that point, I can start taking out what I need or what I don't need. So here, for example, I'll take out the NowSite team since I want the conversation to be in my name. Here, I'm going to remove this dear so I don't have that repetition. I already have it here. Here, I'm going to keep a little bit more friendly. Hi, right? Dear can sound overreaching, over genuine, right? I'm just going to cut this out and just going to close the gap. Now, notice prior to copying this content in this space, I went over and was looking at what it was asking me to provide as marketing asset, marketing links, or call to actions, right? The first campaign was a general introduction, welcome, and again, already we want to create a deeper relationship or show that the support service is available, showing our retention, strengthening our retention, right? We offer the booking so that the person can already start the conversation. That conversation or that call to action, if the person does comply, would already allow us to potentially speed up the learning process or reinforce the learning process and learning curve, right? Boom. Here, click me. In this case, we are talking about the My AI. I copied the subject here, so I'm just going to paste it, right? So the subject here, unlock the power of My AI. So technically, all the conversation assets that I would provide should be around the My AI. Here, for example, click to start. If you receive this email and you haven't signed up with the My AI, I want you to sign up for the My AI, right? So beyond the My AI booking overview, beyond the webinar registration or the webinar demonstration, the purpose is also to make sure that you have that too. Remember that my sequence is around My AI, marketing AI, unlimited AI, and NAV. Okay. Now, this brings us to the next part of our conversation, how to prepare our marketing assets. Because this already should have you asking yourselves questions about, okay, well, I needed link on the first one. I needed links on the second one. They're not the same. I'm going to need links on the other one. They all have the same purpose, introducing the client to the set tools, the environment, making sure that the support is available. Okay. Here, for example, I'm going to be sharing this exercise with you, which is one that I recommend that everybody take part in. It's basically a simple practical exercise around preparing your assets, right? In the conversation around building the email onboarding, you will have that part listed, one of the prompts, since after, um, I'll go back to my sequence here. After getting that email sequence from the AI, my next objective was basically aligning the campaign objective with the email call to actions, right? Remember that an email has a set objective from the beginning. As part of our funnel strategy, after acquiring your email, first stage acquisition, I'm going to try to convert you. After conversion, I'm going to try to retain you. So an email strategy around conversion would be focused on making sure that you do opt in, right? An email strategy around retention would be that you keep understanding, you stay in the environment, you go through the different learning cycles and start yourself benefiting from the product, the service, or the tool, keeping you informed and such. In that aspect, we can plan a rather long series of emails that we can leave on autopilot and just let people get it as they sign in without necessarily having to maintain it too much because we're giving generic information or specific information that doesn't change, fundamentals that doesn't change within our process. When we are looking at converting, we want to have a more agile email strategy. This is where our email campaign are shorter. This is where we regularly come back to review what they are generating, right? So you'll notice that I prompted the AI. Okay, what would be, where's my prompt here? Sorry. So, well, it's part of the document that I offered, anyways. The second prompt being basically, can you give me a list of marketing assets, right, that I could use to have an effective email campaign? What are your recommendations? So this is basically the next step or where I want or I would recommend we start looking at honing our skills. So I'm going to share this practical exercise. It's based on the now site description, but if your opportunity is about something else, we know the drill. We want to have a business conversation around what we offer, who we're targeting, and how this is being made available, prompting the AI around what training asset we would need to have an effective onboarding email campaign draft would be the next step, right? It would land you here where it would give you, here it gave me about 6 general category of assets and links that would necessarily follow through, right? So this is where some of us can maybe start having doubt about, well, I don't have access to all this knowledge or whatnot. But this is also where you want to start understanding how you can use what your company offers to be able to do so. This exercise is simple. You have, for example, the first type of asset that you would want to have is interactive tutorial for each tools. For example, the My AI, the Marketing AI, the Unlimited AI, the Nav, and such. In this case, what I did is I suggested that you should list at least 3, right, of these type of assets. So that way, it should be things that you yourself took part in to introduce yourself or train yourself, or things that are already made available by the company. To that effect, for example, here, one of the links that we offer you is it's our now site getting started. It's part of the links that I shared on the description or shared again, just to put things in perspective. It's this one. And here, for example, just like any other marketing or networking company, we have offered a series of a series of training content. This is assets, right? Because now here I have a lot. The first type of marketing asset that this we were asking our interactive tutorial for each tool, create a step-by-step guide to walk users through the features. My eye, okay, perfect. Video demonstration, weekly webinar sessions, comprehensive FAQs, community forum. Community forum we already have one that we're creating. We have our Now Site newsletter. We have all the Facebook groups that Now Site has or that actively have been created or out in the conversation. So already we have options here. One-on-one booking coaching sessions, you have the links you can request the links. Well, explain the process to request links to book meetings with support, but you also have or should have your own booking sessions here. So you see some of those are easy to fill. Others, for example, here, for example, these can be complicated, but we have the opportunity, again, coming back to these, to look at what we offer. In terms of webinars, I already see that I have a couple of links here for the advanced tutorial with Melvin, my AI training. That's a link, that's a conversation, that's an asset that I can make use of in that email, right? Same thing with the My AI, same thing with our how-to sessions. We have the tutorials here. These are a little harder to get. You could voice over these tutorials or refer to them, or even better, we do have access to our YouTube and Vimeo channels. Now, sometimes it can get a little complicated to navigate this, but there's a lot that we can benefit from. For me, it's a little bit like a box of treasure. For example, all these here are actually available, right? So this is great. You mean to tell me that I can offer a, a, a training that is basically crafted by NowSite and make it part of my strategy? Sorry, I clicked on it. And yes, you can, right? This is important. These are things, these are assets. Let me go back to it here. I'm just going to go back to here this way. So there are more videos here. So I definitely recommend taking a look at it here, how to build a website in social media. Different language here. I have one here, social media. All right. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that. I mean, these are available most of the time for you to share, for you to use, right? Here, for example, I have the option. So I can copy the link. I can even embed it. So I can create basically a specific library of video, taking the time to do so the client don't have to, so the prospect don't have to, using the ones basically that I handpicked, make it part of my conversation. So in this case here, for example, I would copy this link, going back to my conversation here, edit, and at this point, I'll now have an active link that will bring them to a use and overview of that tool. Make sense so far? Questions?
No, we're looking great so far. Tina says she forgot about all this. So wonderful.
Like, oh, did I stop the sharing by? I did stop the. Sorry about that. I'm just going to launch the recording again. Oh, it's record. Did I pause the recording?
Not that I'm aware of. You just stopped sharing.
Oh, okay, perfect. I think for some reason I got a little confused here. I think I stopped the sharing or stopped the recording. Let me just verify. Okay, yeah, I had paused it on my side. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
you're good. We're still
Good.
recording.
Okay, perfect. So this is the important part, right? And again, I'm actually curious about this here because this is definitely something that can be used in a sense that I can you can build a strategy around this offer, right? Join a challenge, 20 people in 30 days, and we have what are the lessons are here. Okay, 3, 2, 8, 9. Okay, so there's maybe a few lessons here, but at the end of this, or we can use this definitely to bring in more interest. Have any of you delved into this in our Vimeo channel?
I have for sure. Some of those too, just to take note,
Hmm.
some of them Cheryl will make downloadable
Okay.
so that you can actually download them and, maybe add some extra stuff to it. But
Yeah.
be careful. Always don't want to misrepresent the company or the message is. But yeah, some of those are downloadable.
Yeah, absolutely. But here, in what I saw, we didn't even need to download. We just had the link to copy. We also had, I think, the embed option, which is something that we can explore. And yes, if they're not downloadable, they're restricted, then it's an indication that this one is not to be used publicly. It's specifically reserved for the company. But everything that I looked at so far was something that could be shared. Right. If it's shareable, it means that you can make it part of your email strategy. You can even make part of your landing page and such. So explore those libraries. Go ahead, Arba.
I was just gonna say, the
Hmm.
thing about sharing a link
Hmm.
to the NowSite Vimeo channel is
Hmm.
that if you're trying to do a focused campaign and you know how people can easily get distracted and go down the bunny trail, if
Hmm.
you share just the link, then Vimeo does play other videos on that channel after it's done. So then people could end up going down the bunny trail and get distracted and you're not keeping them focused on what you actually just wanted them to watch.
Definitely. It's always a possibility that people will go down or off road. Um, it's something I think that can't be helped, but we also have to trust in the power of what we deliver, right?
But
Because
can't
if I
we
came,
still, I'm
sorry,
sorry, I thought the ability to actually embed videos in emails is active again.
no, no,
No?
you cannot. No, no,
Oh,
because you have to understand that that is something that I doubt will ever may be made available. A simple explanation on my part. When you're embedding, it means that you're adding code to that email, Trojans. You're creating a Trojan situation. So
okay, well,
mo
I don't mean embed. I'm sorry. I'm
Yep,
talking about this is something that was available with the emails. Then it wasn't, and it wasn't embed. It was just putting a video. We so right like you have right there at the top. Isn't that
yeah,
a
this
okay?
is basically the link, right?
Okay,
It's the
yeah,
easiest way to share. Coming back to what I said, it's the easiest way to share content,
right.
right? Whenever you are here, and this is usually something that it is across the board available, even if the content is restricted to now site. The share option usually will be available. Why? Because it's something that we are offering to the public general, right? If it's not on this channel, if it's not made available to the brand public, usually you won't see it on the public channel. Okay.
Okay, so the only point I was making was
Mhm.
I would rather use put the video on the email instead of a link to the video. I guess that was really all I was saying.
Good, good. I mean, you have multiple choices, right? Definitely in this case, the idea is that you want to keep them in your space. So everything that you do will have a tendency of keeping them here. The email shared in the link here is best then embedded. That's for that then um, click as it is. If you're doing it on a website, you might, depending on your level of knowledge, depending on what you're doing, might want to just put the link there. But again, we also have to trust in the fact that if you came looking for content and you are suggesting things, you're suggested things that don't line up with this content, you'll come back where you were and continue on, right? I think this is usually something that at the beginning you want to start with. Going deeper or down the rabbit hole or down the process, you might want to tighten a little bit more. Remember, for example, if you start out with one video, yes, it will request other videos. But as you progress in building your library of content, you'll be able to make sure that you can reference a playlist, right? So there are settings also that allow you to manage that option later down the road. Make sense? Good for everybody? Questions? Okay. So yes, it's a little it could feel a little tedious, right? But this is part of what we are offering. We are investing time preparing these roadmaps so that the client can save time following these points and achieving our objectives. So it might feel sometimes like you know, looking for a needle in a haystack, but definitely go through the process because you can never know what has been offered. And not only yourself, for yourself, it's good training because before you can offer it as part of your conversation, you yourself have to review this content. So you're training yourself, right? And you're deciding, well, okay, this one was easy to absorb. I'll make it part of that conversation. This one's a little bit complicated. I'll save it for the rest, right? And this is can also be an asset if you want to try your hand in different languages, or if you do speak different languages and you are curious about it. This is sometimes one of the annoying part. I haven't found a way to better navigate Vimeo than what I'm doing here. So usually I'll take a look and basically go down that rabbit hole looking at what was offered, trying to see what asset I can bring in. Always again keeping in perspective my established list and the fields that I'm trying to fill, right? What type of interactive video, what I can find, what type of video demonstration I can find, what type of webinar reference I can find, right? What type of uh, the Q's and A's or facts. Well, these are facts, so the general facts. These generally you can prompt the AI to give you a good understanding, or based on the conversation that you're having, the recurring questions become facts that you want to answer. So these are things that you can copy, paste, or draft yourself, depending on where you want to lead the conversation. Okay. And of course, as you gain momentum as a leader, things like that are things that you will set in place. Not only you will create your own community forum or refer to other forums or community that you benefit from, and also the coaching, the meeting, the discovery meeting, the reinforcement meeting. Okay, I think this is one of the first asset that you want to put in mind. How do I get these meetings? Of course, the link to the sessions, the email for the request, the telephone number, or simply put your digital card. Right. So this brings you back to why again I constantly am referring to everything that is happening in this, not as website, but as marketing assets, right? And again, often enough, I tell you that you will have use for each one of these assets. Well, yeah, the website here in this case, we use this format for our how-to sessions, a sales funnel or a meeting and booking process could be what we need here when using the sales funnel. After your each exercises or courses or email, this is the process that you would follow to book a meeting so that we reinforce the conversation. Landing page could be focused conversation on a demonstration, a process, or otherwise. Right? So for each one of your activity, you have a tendency of needing one of these assets to keep the conversation simple. Otherwise, or to have simple processes, simple tools to drive your conversation across. Because remember, all this is preparation for what we are planning on doing next when we are talking to these people, right? Because technically, after the first connection objective, after the first connection objective, we are now technically supposed to be sharing assets, right? Building a rapport. What asset could we be using? Our email. Oh, sorry, our digital card. Digital card is also part of our training process when we need to offer channels for direct inquiries or one-on-one booking, right? When we're presenting here, we should have ways of demonstrating the product. So these webinar links, these video uh, links that we can share become assets, right? So here, for example, coming back to what we discussed, having found an interest for my social media link was up here in English. Where is it? Here, here, here. This link technically would become part of my attachments, right? I would have this as an asset. Thus, going over your marketing assets or your sales assets, creating those lists, doing that inventory becomes important because these are things that you will be using constantly. Because now here I could definitely, for example, having having selected somebody in the conversation, trying to get them to onboard for my tool, that conversation, that asset becomes part of it. Here, I see that we have this common interest. Take a look at this tool. I also sent you an email with an onboarding process to discover more. Take a look at it. That same email campaign that we had set to onboard can now be also used as a tool for conversion and also for retention. It is so important to come back in that space, preparing our marketing asset. And I think this is what we've been doing since we started talking about the NAV, which has been straightforward. So far, we know what that brings about. Go ahead, Robert.
Martha is asking, she says she started a digital business card. However,
Mhm.
she didn't get very far. She said she's used other sites to design one. Sometime will you visit this for those of us that are still learning now site?
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe I put up a template. We will discuss that then next um, um, session, and I'll try to make it a course, a simple course type case study. I'm going to start building these courses. I'm trying to think one about this email onboarding process. Creating a digital card is pretty simple. What I even recommend here, we usually have this template that is offered. In the website template, I actually showed how to access those website template. I'll show you where to find the exercise, and then I'll go over. You'll see also that again, not see if I covered that, but I started embellishing basically our case study. This is already there. I'm going to add the email onboarding. There's the website training here. It covers how to access our template. So here, add new. You would go here. No, I want to do it myself. You have access to all our templates. I recommend you explore for fun here. The one that you're looking for would be this one here, right? Digital card. So at that point, you can put your name, for example. It was Martha, right? I asked the question. Was it
It was
Yes, it
Martha. Yeah.
was.
Martha?
Yes,
So
thank you, Virgil.
you're welcome. So here, for example, you would put your digital card. Of course, I expect that in this case, you would have created your digital profile around your persona. This is who I am as a professional in this space. This is who I'm offering service to. And this is how they get to find me. This is how they get to book me. This is how they get to discover my products. Again, these values, right? In this case, I'll put none. It will basically, again, ask you for your URL. In this case, as you understand, we cannot have any capitals or any space or symbols. So I'm putting everything down to the lower cases and submit. So it's going to give you this basic construct. The only thing that I
Mhm.
recommend the only thing that I recommend when you're updating this, here, click outside the box, split this in two, okay, and bring up the form here, okay. At that point, you are working on one fold, right? Meaning what? I'm going to publish this and preview this because often enough, I'm touching base on that because often enough, I see these digital cards that are like never ending landing pages, fold after fold after fold, forms after forms after form. We do not want any of that going forward anymore. It's best for you. Why? Because no matter how many forms you put on the same digital card, they all lead to the same list. So one form should carry over the gist of your offer, right? So this is what we're getting here. And the idea in splitting this in two is giving us two panels. One with all the digital contact, because remember, human physiology, if I saying this right, or the way we read, left to right, up from down. So when you're looking at those, you tend to absorb the information first across, understanding that there's two panels, and you go this way for the contact information, and this way for whatever offer is there. And this is where we come back with the structure that we covered, okay? And we want to make sure that we adhere to that. So interests in the title, oh, here, headline here. So always a strong interest grabbing statement in the title, right? Then we want to clearly outline our intentions so we can speak to the audience, right? And as you see, call to action, right? The call to action, right, is always what follows. And this is a sequence that we want to adhere to. Oh, okay. So that way we can build more. At this point, again, coming back to the whole conversation around marketing asset, I could grab a video, put it here. And if the idea again is to showcase a conversation that follows with this, well, here, okay. And I can go deeper with that if I want them to change, for example, coming back to what we found at the beginning. I'm very curious to see if anybody is going to be able to use this or because here I'm pretty sure that if you go through this process, is some things that you can invite people to join in, or you can pick some of these lessons and go over them because that could be something how to recruit in. And this is shareable. I have the link here, so copy the link address, come back to this digital card and turn this into a power statement. See, boom, right? Change you. Oh, see, and you can see where here my interest is going directly here. Okay, and here it would be discover an approach, discover a tool based on this approach, right? Because remember, I am saying no lies here in the sense that we have a tool that is based on Eric's knowledge, and we do have Eric's knowledge here. All right. So even without having you join Eric's program or whatnot, by taking advantage of the NowSite offer and having a small understanding or a small introduction to what Eric has to offer, I can leverage that to tell you to come talk to him. You don't have to pay to talk to him. You can use the tool and his advice to progress. A proven tool behind a proven strategy.
Hey, I'm just
Leveraging,
curious. I'm
yeah.
just curious if anybody got a bunch of ideas in their head from what he just covered, put a one in the chat area.
I'm not doing this. Even myself, when I started looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, there's a lot, right? We don't have to come in here having built all these tools. First, we need to know where to find them. And then after that, how to make sense of it for our own interest. After that, it's loads of funds, right? So this is only one asset that I showed, right? One link that we offer that would answer a lot of question in terms of what should I prepare for a rollout to train somebody or to onboard somebody. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know that, well, if he has the My AI, well, there's a session on such and such date, a link that I can provide. I will attend the session first to get the value from it, and then I will bring the person in as part of my training. I'm going to go take a look at the library of video.
Great, great point. Could you repeat what you just said, please?
I'm going to attend the session to get the value out of the session before bringing somebody in. It's important, right? It falls back into everything that we're discussing or practicing here. I need to go through the process myself so that I can empower myself. Personal growth, professional growth. And once I have that, I can now leverage that expertise and bring people over to increase my team, my reach, my productivity. All the while, every step, every repeat. And remember, we're talking learning curve and learning cycle. Leaders technically are constantly in the learning curve. It doesn't stop, right? Because you're constantly having to recycle yourself to match your classes or your market expectation and expertise. So leaders are stuck in an endless cycle of learning. All right. And learning curve are basically process that people will go through for technically a short period of time because it's contextual. You're learning this product, you're going to have to go through this learning curve. And once you reach the end of that learning process, technically, you have understood everything that you need to do, rinse, wash, repeat. And then you go into now your learning cycle, which becomes an optimization cycle, bit by bit. This is also one of the issues that we often have when we come into the space. We want to learn everything at the beginning. If our learning curve is a fast track process through everything, then so be it. We spend a few hours in here and we'll master it and we come back changed, right? If our learning curve is not that fast track learning process, then we have to pace ourselves. Otherwise, we fall into frustration. I don't understand this. Well, it's normal. I'm discovering this, right? So keep that in mind. I think the in the process of learning, the best example that you can take for those who have children or little brothers that play video games, well, look at them. They'll get stuck playing for hours the same level, trying to beat the same boss, and they make it fun. Frustration. Every time they lose, they come back at it with, okay, I learned this trick. I'm going to try this, right? They make that frustration part of the fun, right? So if you come in here and you start looking at it that way, okay, the more trouble it is, the more fun it is. Why? Because the more I'm learning. At that point, you change the dynamics, right? It doesn't become a burden to be in this space to fail. It becomes a learning experience. Oh, I tried that, it didn't work. I'm not going to try that. And of course, I'm going to teach this quick step to result when I have to pass it on, right? And you yourself have to brace yourself for your learning process. Pick one. right? I recommend, if you're new to NowSite or even if you're old to NowSite, the process is the same. New have to go to the same cycle. Old user have also to come back and refresh themselves, right? And everything again. Look at the nav. Nav started with the business profile. Everything across NowSite starts with the business profile, with the approach at navigating what we're getting. Once that is established, we go into the rest, marketing and such. Go ahead, Robert.
No, I'm just really happy that you're saying that and everybody's picking up what you're throwing down. It's not like we knew what we were talking about when we first started either, right? So everybody starts somewhere. And like I said, your learning curve is going to depend on how quickly you pick it up or not. But Tina was in the comments there. I told her it's not a race, right? You don't have to compete with anybody that's out there. The biggest person you're going to compete with is yourself. So
Absolutely.
love today's message.
Absolutely. This is not a race, right? Nobody's competing. And that's one of the things we have social media, I say, is like back to school, right? Because it's you like me, I like you. We click up, we work together, we be friends and such. Great. But this should not be like a classroom competition where we're trying to be the first. No, it's not a race. Success is not a race. It's a journey, right? It's a progression. And the better we assume that, the more comfortable this journey becomes. Okay, so take that out of off the table. It's good to have mentors and it's good to have a driving energy, a hunger to succeed. Yes, but don't make it a crippling thing. Don't make it work against you. Frustrate. Oh, I've tried trying this and it's not working. Okay, well, how have you been trying this, right? Because remember, if you're hitting your head against the wall trying to go through, well, no changes are going to happen there. You got to wait. Well, there's a wall here. Okay, maybe I shouldn't be going in that direction. Maybe I just step aside until I find a way around this wall. Maybe I could just step back and see what led me to this wall. Okay, this is when the journey becomes fun. Don't see the uh, uh, obstacle. Try to envision always the way around it, right? Okay, something is coming up. What happens when I get to this stage? I need to prepare. This is one of the things also that I also get to experience a lot with the clients. They're starting at first stage and they're having questions and uh, um, um, fears that technically are at level 10. What are you doing there at level 10? We're here at the beginning and you're thinking about level 10 problems. No, wait, level 1, level 2, level 3, and you'll see that by the time you get to level 10, well, you just added step 1, step 2, step 3, and it's no longer complication. It's just part of the process. Make sense for everybody?
Virgil, I love this because we're able to come on and be at different levels. And you are so patient in helping each one of us. Some of us have had the opportunity to explore and, be way beyond all of this, where I myself, I haven't been on Now Site as much as I should as far as learning it. So it's an opportunity to come on and ask our questions whenever we can get on the trainings. And I really appreciate you and Robert for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, that is our reward. If you see value in this and you like, come back, invite others. Our goal is to build this community so that we go into the hundreds in attendance, right? We're working slowly to that process and definitely thank you for the blessings. Thank you for the power. It's well received. Well, with me, Robert, I'm pretty sure you want to add something to that.
No, amen. I second that. Absolutely. The only reason that we're here is because you guys keep showing up, and that's the best part. Showing up is 80% of the battle. Keep showing up, keep learning, keep applying. Eventually, you'll get where you want to be.
That is so. Right? Repetition is the father of learning, right? And the mechanic is what basically we want to master. We pass it on, and this is always good. Again, whatever the levels. Go ahead, Breezy.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh,
sir. I
yes,
was
sir.
around when you first came onto the scene, and
Yes.
but then I suffered an illness which had me out of the
Mm.
box for almost 3 months. Okay, so
Oh,
I
wow.
just recently have started coming back. So of course, there, when you miss 2 or 3 months worth of Virgil, you've missed a whole lot. So, um, and
Thank
so
you.
I'm just really trying to pitter patter my way back in. So, what would you suggest for to a person like me who has missed so much? What would you suggest as far as um, where should I go back to start?
Start.
Uh, yeah, so where would that
Abs-
be?
Absolutely. I'll answer the question. I also want to take the time to wish you, well, prompt recovery, right?
Oh,
Hope that
I'm good. I'm good now.
perfect, perfect. So here, what I would recommend is understanding here your business profile. If anything, first thing first, come back to your. It's going to be the first thing to tune up, and the preparation for the rest of the tools starts here. The fourth tab, My AI Manager. Okay.
Okay.
Here, train my AI. This is a mistake, right? I haven't touched it. It's always great. I get to say it and showcase what should not be, right? If you open up your train my AI and you have these blank fields, you have work to do. Come back here, anchor a little bit of information. We don't need a lot. We just need to know the outline of who you are, right? For example, telling it that you are a bachelor in your 30s in this space would be a different conversation or different persona that you would be setting if you were saying that you're more in the grandfather type era of your years, right? Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. Now that part I've already trained my AI.
Perfect. So
Okay.
if you have done all this, then the next part falls here, understanding what you're doing with your business profile.
Okay.
Okay.
I've
For
done that
any,
part.
yes, exactly. For every business conversation, you always want to start here. As you can
Okay.
see, I stay busy. By the way, in the newsletter that I'm offering, you will see this conversation, a quick overview of that, the My AI setup. I recommend going over that. Okay. So it's a quick video setups. You might be a little bit more further down the process, but take a look at it. It's going to be a refresher. Okay. The
Okay.
idea is that you click on add new and you're going to add your business name. Okay. Whatever industry you're in, whatever brand you decide to follow to anchor your conversation, the brand name is that. But what follows is the description. That's the most important part, right? This is where I often insist on following a description with key values. What exactly I'm offering, who exactly I am targeting for this conversation, and how this is being made available to them. Okay. You don't even need to take notes, Breezy, because going back to the newsletter, I've covered that as well. Okay. In a brief part here, but it's also available in our team sections. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you're
Okay.
drafting your correspondence, or when you're drafting, sorry, your business profile, just keep in mind that you want to give answers to these three questions: what it is I'm offering, who it is I'm offering it to, and how this is being made available to them. Okay.
Okay.
These are foundational. Go ahead.
Now your team sections. Um, I don't know whether I'm in that or not.
Oh, you can. Here, I gave you, there's a link as well. I'll put it back in the chat here. There's a team section. You'll see it expires. Well, let me put that here
Robert has that in the chat, by the way.
Oh,
already.
Posted it
okay.
twice.
Okay. I'll repost it again just to be thorough there. So you have this, join us. It's going to bring us to this team section that I've created, and you have content. Okay. But the most important thing I want you to do next on your account, go to the chat, conversation, request the booking link. Okay, in the chat here. They'll send you a meeting link for you with me, and we'll go over a proper onboarding conversation. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, perfect. And also, you can do that at least twice a week. Book 2 meetings a week. If you're coming back, this is a good momentum to keep for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that way we meet, we iron out some understanding, you practice, you come back into these bookings with me. With these sessions, in addition, you should be well back on track using the tool.
Okay, and one
Now
more.
cited, go ahead, sorry.
That last one you mentioned, the booking link, that would be where?
Oh, here. You can go from your account, or you can you can request it directly by emailing support at now.site. You
Okay.
ask them for a nerd meeting link with Virgil, and they'll send you one.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, sir.
that's
Thank you.
actually the easiest path to it.
Okay.
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 Perfect. So I'll make the content that we created or that we discussed today available on the newsletter and in the team option. For next week, I'll try to create a quick course overview for the email discussion. It's going to be a nice practical exercise. Actually, I'll try to do one also to cover this my AI conversation that I just had and a practical exercise to prepare for it or work with it since it really is fundamental. The My AI, the business profile will follow you for the first My AI tool for social media, for the marketing, the email conversation, for the prospecting, for the nav. It's really the cornerstone of what you're doing every time when you're getting into this space. Okay. And as you saw in the conversation around the how, there's a lot that actually comes into play because
Yes,
these
sir.
are the assets that I have to prepare or list or the mechanics behind how my service is rendered.
Yes,
Good.
sir. Thank you so much.
Oh, please, Breezy. Virgil is good. Sir is too much for me. It's too much of a crown to wear. We keep it friendly.
Okay, then
Okay.
I call Robert, sir. Thank you, Robert, sir.
And there you go. You can give him that.
Happy
Perfect.
to help where we can, brother. Y'all have a
Yes, sir.
fantastic weekend. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay,
Okay.
Yes,
y'all every
absolutely.
Tuesday, guys. Are you all? I'm new to it now, sites. Y'all are on every Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Unless there's an issue, then I'll roll out an email notification. So please, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, this is how I can keep track of who's coming and notify people if ever there's an issue. I'll start also trying to implement a little bit more of a maybe training or exercise process through that as well, but we'll see.
I
Good?
just signed up for the. I just joined, so I can sign up at that site for the newsletter.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Frank, and I
thank you,
also want
sir.
to just point out, Frank, for anybody else that's new also, we do have Elizabeth that holds the My AI portion Monday through
Mhm.
Friday, an hour before this.
Okay,
So that's for
Elizabeth.
beginners starting out, understand how My AI works. She's there Monday through Friday. We're here Tuesday and Wednesdays.
Okay, she's there Monday through Friday at 11 Eastern.
Correct.
Mhm. As
Okay,
it is, you want to get familiar with this calendar,
okay,
right?
yeah,
Because it has everything that we're discussing, different languages. If there's more, I'm not sure, but this is really where you want to go. Save this calendar, everybody. Explore what is happening. Because remember, this is also how we meet other people in these different communities, right? So definitely in Melvin, Elizabeth, everybody that is in this environment preceded me, so they have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience that you want to take advantage of.
got it.
Good?
Thank you,
Perfect.
thank you.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. And then I'll see you again, everybody, on Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, if there's anything, you have the form. Put forward any conversation or case study that you would have me discuss or think about for the next session. Perfect. Have a great day, a great week.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.